Happy birthday, Gemini, if it is your birthday. Welcome to a new solar year for all of your Gemini placements. As we begin this new year, of course, there is a feeling of freshness, there is a feeling of newness. And at the beginning of any kind of cycle or any kind of year, um, a lot is unknown. And so, one of the things about beginnings, and I think good beginnings allow us to do this. One of the things about beginnings is that they get to start off slow sometimes. And I'm going to say that as we move into your season, at least for the first couple of days, you want to start off a little bit slow. There's a lot of momentum moving through your body right now. There are a lot of ideas. You feel really creative this season. I think that a lot of you are really changing things up, especially when it comes to your path in life, what you're applying yourself to in your creative capacities and in your growth and your learning for a lot of you in your career. There's also a lot of energy for change in your social dynamics and friend groups, and you're thinking about moving out into the world in new and different ways. And yet, I'm going to say that it is absolutely essential that you allow yourself space and time to rest, to move slowly, to do a little bit of back and forth, put out some energy into whatever it is that you're trying to start and get off the ground, or have already started and get off the ground, and then go take a nap. And there is really important integration that happens in sleep. Very important integration that happens in rest. When you turn your brain off, and that includes your devices. I know sometimes it feels like, you can scroll with your brain off, but actually when you let your eyes rest, when you let your brain rest, really important integration is happening. Now, some of what's important to integrate for you right now is how you feel. So I talked about this in the introduction to Gemini season. Learning to feel how we feel is one of the top priorities for Gemini season and for the next year of Jupiter in Gemini. But we start off the season and Jupiter has not yet gone into your sign. So there are a lot of things kind of falling apart in some important ways. And I think that things are falling apart for you in your unconscious and your subconscious to some extent. And what this feels like to me is certain ideas and beliefs just don't stick anymore. You may have your whole life had a ton of value placed around particular ideas or beliefs or notions about how you should be, how you should express yourself, what's desirable from you in the world, what you like and dislike, etc. But those notions are changing and their forms are giving way. And as we change, new ideas are coming forth, new impulses are coming forth. But it's also important to slow down because these new impulses are coming forth so quickly, but there's also a tendency to want to grab onto things as soon as they seem kind of formed or articulated and like turn them into something. And so, my caution for you here is to not do that too soon. So, at least the first week or so of Gemini season, give yourself dreamy space. Give yourself space to play with a lot of different possibilities of how something might happen, or how you might happen, or how you might feel about a thing, especially if there are places where you are unsure about something, or you're playing with different options, or you just kind of don't know yet. And during this time, um, Your dreams, your intuition, and your resting space are enormous resources for you. There's a lot of information, there's a lot of guidance, there's a lot of inspiration. So give yourself time and space to rest, especially through the Sagittarius full moon on May 23rd. And this is a really powerful full moon for you. Sagittarius, of course, is your opposite sign. And so the full moon illuminates the axis between the first and the seventh house. And this is a symbolic axis of you and other people. And in particular, we have other people who are able to give you important reflections about yourself. And these other people tend to take the shape of important one-on-one dynamics. So intimate partners, best friends, spouses, sometimes parents can also come into this category. And even if you just walk out on the street one day and happen to have an interaction with somebody, oftentimes strangers can also be important reflections. And because this is a period of time that I would say has a heightened kind of dreamy quality to it, and there's a lot that might be coming through your intuition and through symbolic spaces, I would definitely include strangers in the category of important relationships, because people might be saying things to you, acting certain ways that you are able to kind of divine the messages and how they're coming across um, in ways that you might not normally register as symbolic. So the full moon on May 23rd is a full moon in Sagittarius, and this is actually also the day that Venus will move into your sign in Gemini, and it will stay in Gemini until June 16th. This is an important day of clarification for you, or time of clarification for you, when it comes to relationships in general. Then we have Jupiter moving into your sign a couple of days after that. And then you're getting a big boost of energy. And it feels like there's a lot that starts to really want to come out through your body and through your expression. Now, part of the reason why I'm saying take it slow in the first week of Gemini season is because a big point of change for you is actually going to be in your relationships and in how you want to be relating with others. Gemini, this is a period of time that is asking you to up-level your self-concept. You are really wanting to focus right now on what you feel most, I'm going to say, grateful for in your own self, in your body, in your affect, in your mind, in your way of being. Focus on your talents, focus on your gifts, focus on your skills. This isn't a time, I don't think any time is a great time to be like arrogant or bombastic or, think that you're better than other people necessarily. But this definitely is a time for you to be focusing on what do you value about yourself and how do you feel your self-value being reflected back to you in your relationships. And if you find yourself in relationships with people that, they don't seem to be valuing you or they're not valuing the parts of you that you highly value, maybe they're seeing certain aspects of you that feel more superficial, that feel less aligned with what you want to be aligning with, then this is a time to take note of that and start to emanate inside of your relationships a different kind of attitude. You really want to call in ways of relating, and this includes all kinds of relationships. I'm going to say especially intimate partners and especially work relationships and professional relationships. You want to call in relationships that really allow you to shine and bring your best self, your most generous self. So then we move towards the last couple of days of the month of May and towards the month of June. And I want to give a shout out to Sherry Taylor, who's one of the Embodied Astrology facilitators. Sherry is doing some really important work this year with Saturn in Pisces. She's leading a series of devotional practice cycles that have several sessions, I think 3 sessions each over the course of the year, where she's inviting people to cultivate planetary allyship practices with the archetypal energy of Saturn. And Sherry is focusing specifically on the femme faces of Saturn, or the femme representations of Saturn. And you can think of the femme representations of Saturn as like deep time mother energy, earth mother energy, bone mother energy. And also, I want to say that feminist and mother energy totally is not dependent on your assigned sex, on your gender experience, or anything like that. All of us can access this archetypal energy. Now, one reason why I want to give this shout out is because Pisces is a really important sign for you, Gemini. Pisces rules the heaven of your chart. This is the solar 10th house. This is the place in the chart that is the most visible, the most public. It has a lot to do with your career, your public image, your lineage, how you feel yourself moving out and into the world, who you want to be in the world, and what you are building. Now, Saturn as an influence and an energy brings both challenge and strength. When we work with Saturn, we learn to honor our boundaries. We learn to work within our limits, and we also learn how to increase our capacity and extend our limits. Working with Saturn is also working with time. It's working with necessity. It's working with integrity. It's working with discipline. Saturn moving through your 10th house between 2023 and 2026 is asking you to mature in the parts of your life that are calling you most to be a responsible adult in the world. You are creating your life. Even though life 99.9% is outside of your control and it's just going to give you a whole bunch of stuff that you need to work with, how you work with that stuff is 100% up to you. And Saturn wants to help you work skillfully with the stuff of your life. Now, how can you work skillfully with the stuff of your life right now, Gemini? Especially as Jupiter is coming into your sign, and over the course of 2024 and into 2025, Jupiter will be squaring Saturn. You can work by deeply listening. You really want to attune your inner sense towards the subtle and the numinous that is calling you in your life. Now, I think it's easy for a lot of us to think about what we do in the world, our, careers, our social roles, our public images, etc. It's really easy for us to think in ways that, productivity mindsets have shaped for us that often are a lot more boring than any of us want to be. And so practicality and productivity and, administrative hell is what I call it, like how you get your life to work for you through administrative hell, like all the bills you have to pay, all the random tasks you have to do because you're trying to adult or whatever. Um, that's all there, but there is also something deeper compelling your path. And this is a period of time that wants you to listen to that deeper calling. It wants you to take up the work that is more subtle, that is more spiritual, and actually anchors you to a different sense of time. And this sense of time has to do with the deep past. I'm going to say, the dreams that you had, as a young child, your inner child, also the gifts and the inheritances of your ancestors, the gifts that they didn't necessarily get to live into in their lives for whatever reason, the inheritances that they have given and that are also yours to transform, as well as time that hasn't arrived yet, the time of the future that is as of yet unknown. Something is calling you from a place that is broader and vaster and more numinous than now, and you really want to listen in. And I'm going to say that the last several days of May, from about the 25th all the way until the end of the month, these are days that feel um, quite profound for listening practice, especially May 30th. Um, Please make time and space for yourself to tune in. You might want to do some kind of ritual practice, listening practice, um, journaling, tarot card pulling, working with your astrology, other kinds of divination, prayer, also sleeping and dreaming, right? The resting space. There's a lot of information there. And I'm going to say that you don't want your mind consumed with administrative hell these couple of days. And if you're trying to adult, you have probably some amount of administrative hell. Try and encapsulate it, like contain it, and give yourself scheduled time to be in a listening practice of some sort. Now, Sherry is going to be starting a new devotional cohort on the 28th of May. And if you can tune in with her, I cannot recommend her work enough. I think that this would be massively supportive for you in what you are working to unfold in your life. Now, a couple of days after that, on I believe it's the 1st of June, another one of Embodied Astrology's facilitators, Gabs 404, will also be offering a drop-in as part of a series that they're working with called the Nebula Lab. And for any of you Geminis who are creative types, I think that this might be really interesting for you. Gabs is working with photography in relationship to, you can see Neptune here where it says 29 right by this Neptune's trident glyph. Neptune is at the anaretic degree of Pisces this year. And this degree is all about unforming into new possibilities and reality becoming unreality. Gabs is working through photography to explore the ways that media shapes reality and tells stories. And some of you, I think, could really have a good time in this workshop and could probably take a lot of inspiration from that work for anything that you're trying to do, especially those of you who are creative types, any artists or makers out there, storytellers especially, but also those of you who are feeling this sense of dissolve happening in your adulting, in your career life, in your path and purpose, because all of you are going through something right now that has you needing to let go of the past in order to embrace the new. And the space that you're in right now is kind of a space of gestation. That's the vibe. It's like something is building in this subtle, kind of like underneath and in between space, and you have to listen. But the more that you creatively listen and listen through experimentation, I think the more vibrant and exciting the unfolding gets to be, and probably dynamic and inspirational. Then we move into the month of June. And as we get into June, Gemini, your chart starts to pop off. So, as I mentioned, Jupiter comes into your sign on May 25th. But then Mercury will also come into your sign on June 3rd. And so, as both Mercury and Jupiter enter into your sign, they form trines to Pluto in Aquarius. We've got a lot of energy moving in the air signs. Venus is also here. Venus is a little bit ahead of Mercury at this point. And so we've got Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Jupiter all in Gemini. This is a ton of energy in your body. This is a lot of mental energy. This is relationship energy. This is growth energy. This is a great time for you to be feeling pretty great about yourself, and I really hope that you are at this point. Again, you really want to focus on the gifts that you give, the abundance that flows through you, the magnitude of who you are. Focus on this. And then let the gifts that you give, the generosity that you have, the joy that moves through you propel you on your path. Your path is opening up right now in new and different ways, and you want it to open in relationship to what you have to offer most generously. And your generosity is always most deeply connected to your joy. We have a new moon in your sign on June 6th. This is a new moon that is very close to conjunct with Venus. That Venus cazimi I talked about in the Gemini season intro is on June 4th. So these couple of days, I'm going to say June 3rd through June 6th, really powerful days for you to be focusing on your gifts, focusing on your talents, focusing on your joys, nurturing generosity. Generosity expands when we tune in with gratitude. This is a great time for you to be doing gratitude practices as well. This is a really powerful new moon for setting new projects in motion. And these projects ideally are ones that have you expanding on your path in new and different directions, as well as networking, meeting new people, making new connections, and forming new and different kinds of relationships. Now, as we get later into June, I'm going to say like into the second week of June, everybody who's moving through Gemini is going to start to square Saturn in Pisces. And pretty much the rest of Gemini season, we've got a lot of squares happening between Venus, Mercury, and then the Sun squaring Saturn in Pisces. We also have a Mercury cazimi coming up in Gemini on the 14th of June. So, how do you continue to focus as you move towards this goal that is still unformed in some ways? It's forming, but not solid. Um, this is a period of time that is asking you to be curious and also disciplined with your curiosity. We want you listening really deeply to your intuition, to your body, and also to your relational field. And when I say your relational field, I'm definitely talking about other people, but I'm also just talking about how you feel in the world, how you feel as you inhabit the spaces that you inhabit, as you move through the world in the ways that you move through the world. We want you listening and noticing where you feel called. Now, where you feel called is changing, and this is why we need you deeply listening, and we need you uh, focusing and curious at the same time, because two things. So, one, we live in a time of abundant sensory overload. There are so many reasons and ways to be distracted, and distraction makes it hard to listen, especially technological distraction, especially media distraction, especially stress distraction, especially other people's BS distraction. So we need you like carving time and space out again to rest, to take a little bit of a pause, to pray, to engage with a spiritual practice of some kind that could look a lot of different ways for a lot of different people. Um, and really trying to feel how you feel so that you can move in the directions that are most compelling, that call you most deeply. Now, the other reason that we really need you practicing listening is that habits, patterns are quite hard to shift. And it can be kind of sneaky a little bit sometimes. Like we can think that we're doing something different, but it's actually not that different. And during this period of time, we have some influences that to me feel like you might be encountering your habit body, your kind of like deeper somatic patterns. And that means that what feels familiar might be the most compelling, even though it's not actually the most compelling. So if something feels familiar, if it feels known, if it feels safe, it's like, oh, you've done this before. Um, it might just be the easiest to flow that way. But I think a lot of you are really wanting to do something different. And so we definitely need you disciplined in the last couple of weeks of Gemini season. And this discipline wants you to focus on what do you really want to grow in your life? What are you really wanting to invest in? And especially the last week of Gemini season, basically from the 14th of June until the solstice on the 20th, we really want you thinking about what do you want to grow in your life? What do you want to invest in? Because where you put your attention and your energy is where things are going to grow. And how you are extending your attention and your energy has a lot to do with how they're going to grow. So we want you putting attention and energy towards your gifts, towards your joys, and extending your attention and energy in ways that are steady and also resonating on this deeper level of spirit and spiritual inquiry so that you can be guided by your intuition and your higher self. All right, Gemini, over the course of Gemini season, we have almost two full moons. So we have a full moon on the 23rd of May in your opposite sign Sagittarius, and then we have a full moon coming up on the first day of Cancer season. Whoops, left your chart there. We have the full moon on the first day of Cancer season in the sign Capricorn. And these full moons are really highlighting relational axis themes for you. And again, creativity is a great way for you to be working it out for yourself. What do you want? What do you want to invest in? What are you moving towards? And over the year at Embodied Astrology, our team member, Junata Petrus, who is an award-winning author, a playwright, and just a really prolific, creative, wonderful being, is holding full moon artistic alchemy gatherings. These are gatherings that happen on usually on Sundays. I think the one in May is actually on a Tuesday. Somewhere around the full moon, within a couple of days of the full moon. And they are meant to help you tune in with a full moon axis in your chart and work with creative prompts to help stir the pot of your creative energy, to help support you in staying creative during times of great instability and, trying to survive. These meetings are so supportive. They're really inspiring. They're very fun. And they also have wonderful people in them and opportunities just to connect with lovely humans and share artwork. So over the course of this year and definitely throughout Gemini season, there's lots of opportunities for you to get involved with Embodied Astrology, and I really hope to see you there. I'm wishing you all the best in Gemini season and beyond, my friends. Bye for now.